In the middle of the green, wavy jungle lived a little elephant named Ellie. She was smaller than most elephants and had the biggest dreams. More than anything, Ellie wanted to fly. Every day, she would watch the birds glide through the sky and sigh, "Oh, if only I had wings. Then I could soar through the trees and touch the clouds. I would fly higher and higher until I could see the whole jungle below me." Her animal friends would giggle kindly. "But elephants don't fly, Ellie," said Parrot. "You're made for the ground, not the clouds," said Monkey. But Ellie didn't give up. She wanted to fly so badly. So she tried flapping big banana leaves like these were wings. When those didn't work, she tied long, thin balloons to her back and pretended she was floating away. Thud. She even stood on top of this tiny hill and jumped off with a red cape billowing behind her. Thud. Each time Ellie tried to fly, she landed in a puff of dust and a chorus of giggles. But Ellie just laughed at herself and got up to try again. "One day," she told them, "I will fly as high as I can." One day, Ellie heard a tiny cry. She followed the sound and found a baby bird stuck in a bush. One wing was twisted at an awkward angle and the bird couldn't fly. "Oh no," said Ellie. "You're hurt and can't fly home." The little bird looked scared. She peeped sadly. "I'm too scared to move. I might break my wing more." "Don't worry," said Ellie. "I'll take you to the Whispering Willow. She's the best at fixing broken wings." Ellie gently scooped the bird onto her back and carried her through the jungle. On the way, she asked every animal if they could help, but they all shook their heads. "Elephants can't fly," said Parrot. "And we're in a hurry," said Monkey. "We have to get home before dark." Ellie felt disappointed, but she kept going because she knew that the Whispering Willow could help. Finally, they reached the tallest tree in the jungle. It had silvery branches that whispered in the wind. High, high up in the tree sat a cozy bird's nest made of twigs and leaves. "That's it," said the baby bird. "That's my home." "Well, here I go," said Ellie. She stretched her trunk up to the nest and said, "Hop on, little one." The baby bird took a deep breath, flapped her one good wing, and with a gentle swing whoosh, she landed safely in her nest. The bird chirped happily to her mother. "Thank you, Ellie, for taking me home. I owe you one." "Don't mention it," said Ellie. She was about to walk away when the bird's mother chirped again. "Wait, Ellie. I want to tell everyone how you helped us." And with that, the mother bird flew down from the nest and perched on Ellie's head. Then she began to tell everyone in the jungle what Ellie had done. "Look at her," cried Parrot, "carrying that poor baby bird all by herself. What a hero!" "It takes all kinds of heroes to save the day," said wise old Turtle. "Sometimes it takes big, strong turtles like me. Sometimes it takes smart monkeys like Charlie. And sometimes it takes kind elephants like Ellie." Ellie felt a warm glow inside. She hadn't flown up to the clouds, but she had helped someone in need. And maybe that was even better. From that day on, Ellie was known throughout the jungle as Ellie the Brave. But Ellie still wanted to fly. Every day she watched the birds soaring through the sky and sighed, "Oh, if only I had wings, then I could fly higher and higher until I could see the whole jungle below me." The other animals would chuckle. "But elephants don't fly, Ellie," said Parrot. "You're made for the ground, not the clouds," said Monkey. But Ellie didn't care. She kept trying to fly, flapping banana leaves and riding balloons. Thud, thud. And though she never left the ground, she was the happiest elephant in the jungle. That is, until one day when everything changed. One morning, Ellie was flying her kite when suddenly a big gust of wind yanked it right out of her trunk. "Oh no!" cried Ellie. "My kite is stuck in that tall tree and I have to get it down before the rainstorm comes." The tree was tall, too tall for Ellie to reach, so she looked around for something she could use to climb it. She thought about using a vine, but those were too slippery. She thought about using a root, but those were too prickly. Just as Ellie was about to give up, she spotted a patch of morning glories climbing up the tree. They were covered with big, beautiful leaves. Perfect. Ellie wrapped the vines around her tusks and began to climb. Up, up she went, higher and higher. She could hear the wind rushing past her ears. At last, she reached out with her trunk and grabbed the kite, but as she turned to climb down, she realized she was stuck. The storm clouds were rolling in, and Ellie was too scared to climb down in the wind. "Oh no," she cried. "I'll blow away." Then she remembered the morning glory vines. She wrapped them around her trunk, and with a deep breath, she climbed down the tree. Thud. Ellie landed in a pile of leaves, but she didn't care. She had rescued her kite, and that's when she saw it. Stuck in the top branches of the tree was a tiny bird's nest made of twigs and leaves, and inside it huddled a little bird. "Oh no," cried Ellie. "You're all alone and a rainstorm is coming. I have to get you out of here." Ellie looked around for something she could use to climb the tree, but there was nothing. Then she remembered the morning glory vines. She wrapped them around her trunk and began to climb up. Up she went. Higher and higher, she could feel the wind tugging at her, almost blowing her off the tree. At last, she reached out with her trunk and nudged the bird's nest. "Hop on," she whispered to the bird. The bird huddled inside the nest, took a deep breath, and with a little push, zoomed down from the tree. Ellie held out her trunk and caught the nest. Then she walked quickly away from the tree as the first raindrops fell from the sky. "Who's in there?" chirped a voice. The bird poked her head out of the nest. "It's me," she said. "I'm Ellie." "Well, thank you, Ellie, for saving me. How can I ever repay you?" "Oh, you don't need to repay me," said Ellie. "It was my pleasure." But the bird insisted, and so the next day she brought Ellie the juiciest mangoes from the mango tree, the silkiest coconuts from the coconut grove, and the sweetest bananas from the banana bunch. Ellie shared the fruit with all the animals, and they all praised her for being such a kind elephant. Ellie felt very happy until she saw Charlie the monkey hanging upside down from a tree. "Hey, Ellie," he called. "Why don't you come play with us? We're swinging from tree to tree, and it's so much fun." "I wish I could swing from tree to tree," sighed Ellie. "Then I could fly through the jungle just like you." "Well, why don't you try?" asked Charlie. So Ellie did something she had never done before. She closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and jumped. For a moment, Ellie was flying through the air. She could feel the wind rushing past her ears as she soared from tree to tree. But after a while, her feet started to hurt, and she landed on the ground with a big thud. Ellie was disappointed. She really wanted to swing from tree to tree, but she was too scared to try again. Just then, Wise Old Turtle ambled over. "What's wrong, Ellie?" he asked. "I wish I could swing from tree to tree," she sighed. "But I'm not good at it." Wise Old Turtle smiled. "Well, then you need to practice," he said. "And I know just the thing to help you." Wise Old Turtle led Ellie to a clearing where all the animals were gathered. In the middle of the clearing was a tall pole with a long rope hanging from it. "This is a swing," said Wise Old Turtle, "and swings are perfect for practicing your flying skills." Ellie wasn't so sure, but she was willing to try anything. She sat on the swing, and Wise Old Turtle gave her a little push. Back and forth, Ellie swung, higher and higher. She could feel the wind rushing past her ears as she soared through the air. And then she did something she had never done before. She opened her eyes. For a moment, Ellie was flying through the air. She could see the whole jungle below her as she soared from tree to tree, and Ellie was the happiest elephant in the jungle.